Hello there and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I will finally be assembling the outer extremities of the 20xe engine in my 1986 Opel Kadett time attack build. For those of you new to the channel, here is a quick rundown on the guts of this engine. It has a gas flowed cylinder head that has been skimmed quite a bit. It has some hot cams, ALP head studs and ALP rod bolts. Other than that, it is a very simple setup. Also, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing to the channel. That would really be great. First order of business is I want to get the more boring stuff on, the intake manifold, throttle body, etc. And if you're wondering why we're not even a few minutes into the video and the mess has randomly appeared, I put the camera down and then went, oh wait, where are my heater pipes? And I could not find them, I could not find them, I could not find them. So I went through all of my crates and they were just there. They were just on the shelf over there, and now they are here. Great. Now I will be using the stock intake manifold and throttle body. The inside of the manifold has been lightly polished, as well as the outside of the throttle body having been polished. Since I won't be aiming for a million gazillion horsepower, using the OEM setup will be the best. Since I'm not going for crazy all-out peak power, using the OEM setup will be best. The long intake runners on the OEM manifold really make for a good torque curve, and the OEM throttle body is great for drivability purposes. You see it has those staggered throttle bodies. The small one actually opens up a bit first before the big one actuates, and that really just smooths out the day-to-day driving or prattling around in traffic. And for this build, on-road drivability is very important because it will essentially be a pseudo daily, and I do plan on doing plenty of road trips on it. I want to do serious mileage in this car, so I can't exactly go full race car with everything. It feels so good to finally be taking this masking tape off. Now this is very remedial information, but since I did have some masking tape on here and it left behind some glue, I'm just cleaning this up with some solvent to make sure that the mounting surface is squeaky clean, so that I have zero risk of incurring leakage. Now that the mounting surface on the head is clean, I have some corrosion to address on the manifold. And when it comes to scraping down, and especially an aluminium mounting surface, I've found nothing works better than these little disposable safety razor blades. Obviously got to make sure you don't cut yourself, but they just work an absolute treat. And part of the reason why they work so well, in my opinion, is because unlike a Stanley blade or maybe a scraper, these are bendy and flimsy. So they have way less of a chance to dig into the aluminium and mar up your mounting surface, because carbon steel is harder than aluminium, so if they have a disagreement, the aluminium will always lose the fight. Before I put this back, I'm going to double check that the screws holding the butterfly on are tight, because if any of them are not and they fall off into the engine, well, that's that, isn't it? With that being done, I believe it is at last time to get to the interesting part. This is the exhaust manifold that I will be using. This was custom fabricated out of steam pipe, so it is mild steel, not stainless, and it has been cerakoted. But before I can mount this thing on the car, I need to install studs on this so that I can bolt the turbo to it. And the issue with that is, well, the studs are always too long, so I need to figure out how long I need them to be, cut them to size, and then I can whack them in. Now, to determine the length that you need your stud to be, you install one of them into whatever it needs to be installed into. You measure the flange of, in this case, the turbo, which is 11 millimeters. To that 11 millimeters you add however thick your lock nuts you will be using are. This is 9 millimeters, so already we're at 20 millimeters. Now I need to find the gasket. Here's the gasket. The gasket is 2 millimeters, so we're at 22 millimeters. Round it up to the nearest 5. 25 millimeters I need this thing to be from base to where it ends. I then went in with some masking tape to mark the part that I need to lop off, and I can then just rinse and repeat that 6 times because I need 4 for the turbo and 2 for the wastegate pipe. I absolutely loathe doing this. I had to cut all of the studs for the exhaust manifold to size as well. That absolutely sucked. So instead of having you watch me do that, I'm just going to YouTube magic it. And there you go. 6 studs cut to length and installed. And for those of you curious, this is a 38mm XL wastegate. These are actually locally produced in, if I recall correctly, Benoni. That sucks. Now that I've got the gasket on, I do wish that I had purchased the gasket set before I sent the head in to get gas flowed, because then it would have been gasket matched. These ports can be enlarged. It looks like another 2 millimeters all round. Well, 1 millimeter in its total circumference. And no doubt that would have made a difference. Okay.
Eventually.
It's on! All of the bolts, all of the nuts, on! Tight, torqued, done! I had to sacrifice a little 12mm spanner here for that single bolt over there. And for the rest of the stubborn ones, let me put you onto this little hack right here. I have the snap-on ones. I'm not sure if anybody else makes these. These are the snap-on low profile 1/4 inch sockets. I've just got the one set. I've got them on discount. And then you pair them up with an 11mm ratcheting spanner. And when I tell you this is a life-saving combination, I mean it. At long last, what turbo will I be running? I'll be running this, a Turbo Direct GTX 28550R. This is a ball bearing turbo for which I'm very excited. It's technically smaller with the GT28 flange as opposed to the T3 flange that I used to have, but everything else is bigger and it's more modern, more efficient, and quite helpfully all of the specs, pause if you want to read, are right there on the label. Now, these engines flow very well, and mine especially flows well thanks to the cams and gas flowed head. So most people would, on a drag racing and street car application, rather run a GT30 or a GT35 even. But since this is going to be a track car and I want my torque immediately the second I want to shoot out of a corner, we opted to go with the GT28 to bring the torque curve down back to the mid-range. I am very curious to see what the torque curve on this engine looks like, because the head package, the cams and the exhaust will favor a torque curve a bit higher in the rev range, whereas the turbo and the intake manifold will favor a torque curve that's a bit lower. So either it's all mismatched and I lose out on power, or I wind up with a surprisingly flat curve that feels really good and punchy. But only time will tell once we can get the data after this thing's been on the dyno. thinking about doing this job, before actually doing it, I was sort of envisioning myself kind of in the midst of a scene of like the first Fast and Furious. Got all these shiny new go fast parts, and you're bolting them onto your shit box, and you feel cool. Boy, is that not the case. It's probably been an hour, a bit more than an hour, since I last took any footage. I had to sacrifice another of my spanners. I had to remove that one stud that I had to cut short a second time again, because it was like 2 millimeters, 1.5 millimeter too long still. But it's on. This thing is now turbocharged. That was quite exhausting, but I've still got some energy left in me. Still got some in the tank. So I'm just going to install whatever catches my eye. So, catch can going in. I'm probably going to wind up replacing this because the design is quite suboptimal, knowing what I know now. But that is future me's problem. For now, it's just another thing. One step closer to having this car complete and put together and running and driving. Boy, that's still far ways off, but progress has been made. Right. In a further attempt to make this vehicle more reliable, the screws I'm using now are Toyota OEM hardware that I have robbed from one of the 5 Hiluxes that I had the opportunity to ruin so far in my lifetime. Just gotta imbue this vehicle with all the good juju that I can find, and what better juju than Toyota juju? Eh? Hood prop. What else? Brake master. Now this thing seals the vacuum chamber with an O-ring that lives right there. But there's a strange addition to that, and that is 2 O-rings that you need to install on the studs that hold the master onto the brake booster. Quick thing, when selecting hardware to use in any application, you need to take into account what you need from the hardware and what it will be touching. For example, you need to fasten a piece of mild steel to a piece of mild steel. You don't want to use a plain bolt because that will rust, obviously. So the logical choice would be, you think, using stainless steel, but you can't, because that will cause something called galvanic corrosion. Works on the same principle as galvanizing something, just in the reverse. There's some science to it that I used to know. I can't remember it right now, but essentially, the more noble of the metals will not rust, obviously, but since it's in contact with less noble metal, that less noble metal will basically have an expedited oxidization. So in this case, I'm using galvanized lock nuts because they're going onto mild steel studs. And a quick way to tell stainless steel from mild steel apart, say you have some hardware and it's not stamped, because typically all hardware that is to a specific standard will be stamped with its metallurgical like identification, like number. Mild steel usually is stamped with its tensile rating, etc. But say it's not stamped. A quick way to tell galvanized from stainless steel is galvanized tends to be a bit lighter, and it tends to have a bluish hue to it. Wow, I am just rambling on and on like a mad person.
Tomorrow.
It is the next day, don't mind the darkness, the power is out, and as you can see, the Opel is nowhere to be found. We loaded the Opel up this morning, not gonna lie, winching it up the trailer was a bit stressful. I got to test my fabrication work firsthand, because I was winching it up by that lower brace that I built in the last video. And it went quite swimmingly actually, so I'm very happy about that. So next up on the docket will likely be that thing over there, because the Opel is currently at Triple S Performance. Leonard there did the turbo manifold for me, and he also helped me spec out the turbo. What we're going to do now is the turbo downpipe, the full exhaust, as well as the boost pipes, and maybe one or two other things. But yeah, I'm quite excited for that. I'm going to end this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.